How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
What's happening, MuniciPals? This is Big C and Ashton. We did some things this week. We talked to the owners of Coos Bay, or actually one of the owners, Andre. Great guy. I mean, epic guy. So this week, just so the listeners know, we've been planning my outro trip from the Bay to Portland. And so beginning of June 1st, after my last match coaching, me and Ashton are hopping in the car, heading up north, staying halfway that night, and then heading to the coast. So we planned on checking out this great course because we get linked up on Instagram with Andre, who is the new owner of Coos Bay, and we had a wonderful conversation with him, and we can't wait to get out there and record a podcast with him and, experience the course and get to play 18 holes and see him face to face. So that's going to be a freaking blast. So, but when we were chatting with him and after we got off the phone, me and Ashton kind of looked at each other, and because we were on FaceTime, and we were like, well, since we're going to the coast, I mean, Coos Bay is only 30 minutes north of Bandon. We might as well try to see if we can make this happen. So the next morning, I text Ashton. I go, hey man, if you got some time today, we should hit up Bandon and see if the stars align and see if we can get out there. I mean, if anybody knows, this is one of the biggest resorts in the entire world, I would say, especially in America. Trying to plan a trip to Bandon 6 weeks out is it's kind of laughable that we even thought that this could actually happen. And then Ashton calls Bandon, and I'm going to hand it over to him and let him explain what went down there.
Good evening, sir. So,
evening.
Yeah, I called the number on the website. First of all, they picked up the phone like almost immediately, and it was like, I wish I had her name, but she's like, hey, this is Susan, how can I help you? And I was like, oh, I didn't expect someone to pick up so quickly, because especially at the beginning, they're like, hey, just so you know, we're experiencing very high call volume. She's like, how can I help you? I was like, well, my buddy and I are doing a road trip. I won't give you all the details because you don't care. But essentially, we have like dates, and we're not flexible. We have an idea of what we want to do, but we just wanted to call and see. She's like, yeah, what are you thinking? It's like, well, ideally, we'd really like to play on that Tuesday or Wednesday. We'd really like to play the Preserve. She's like, okay, what time? I'm like, well, around 4:00. She goes, how about 4:10? I'm like, that sounds nice. Okay. She's like, will you be staying with us? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. She's like, well, I'm going to go ahead and say yes, because we have one room left on the property. And she's like, also one giant caveat is if you don't stay on property, you won't be able to lock in these tee times. So I'm not going to hold you to it, but I'll go ahead and book it for you because this will probably be gone within the next couple hours because it's literally our last room on property. And I was like, okay, I kind of see where this is going. Like, I'm just sort of saying yes. Again, not salesy, just super great customer service. And then she's like, oh, so for your next day, your 36 hole day, do you know what courses you like to play? I was like, well, I know what ones we'd like to play, but we're probably not going to get them. And she's like, well, which ones are those? It's like, we like to play the original Bandon Dunes and Sheep Ranch. And you're like, she's like, how about 9:20 in the morning at Bandon Dunes and 3:30 in the afternoon at Sheep Ranch? And I was like, of course, because my dumb ass, I'm like, will we finish at Sheep Ranch? And she's like, and she goes, yeah. She's like, I forgot the exact time, but they have a window. I think at 4:00, you're like not guaranteed to finish. But she was like, yeah, you're well within the window. You'll definitely finish. I was like, okay. I was like, well, what do I do now? She's like, yeah, I just need your credit card number to take down a deposit. She's like, but just so you know, this is like, you can get your money back up to 7 days in advance. So she's like, I'm going to have to put I love the way she put this, a substantial amount of money on your credit card. But she's like, but if you talk to your friend tonight and he says it's too expensive or any adjustments, just call us back tomorrow and we're more than happy to release this deposit back to your original form of payment. And before I know it, I had, I won't say the number, we're not being tacky here, but a significant amount of money on the credit card. But yeah, so our plan is
shocking number, because he texted me right afterwards and I just didn't even second guess it, just Venmo'd it right over to Ashton.
But the one thing we should say, and not in credit to Bandit, we are calling, it's peak season, right? It's absolutely peak season. And the other thing too is, like I usually do, I called my dad, but I was not totally sure because it's a hefty chunk of change. And I talked to my dad and he goes, okay, so just to be clear, you're calling the most exclusive golf resort potentially in the world 6 weeks out, and you lead the conversation with, we have no flexibility. Then they ask you what you want, and they give you exactly what you want. And you are complaining. He goes, take the number they gave you. He's like, what number would make you feel comfortable? I was like, $200 or $300 less. He's like, maybe don't go out to eat a couple times, maybe be a little smart. He goes, you just say thank you for managing to get us in to do exactly what we want and shut the fuck up. And I was like, you know what, Dad? That's where my dad has some really good life advice where it's like, it's true, because that was not in the cards. I didn't think this was going to happen because we're probably not the only morons to call 6 weeks out from Bandon, but the fact that we got exactly what we want is amazing. Because especially too, the day we get there, we're going to have some lunch, we're going to practice, we're going to play shorties, we're going to do all this stuff before we ever play the preserve, do the punch bowl.
Yep.
Even though it's going to be like a heroin high for 48 hours, we're going to get effectively 48 hours on property. And that's amazing and worth every penny. And the other thing too, just to be cheesy for 2 seconds, we've talked a lot about friendship and experience, and I can't wait to go with my dad, but there's something that feels super right about getting to experience the magic of that place with you, especially kind of on your voyage back, kind of a new chapter in your life. So yeah, normally they say this in a bad way, no laying up, but things started to move quickly and it just kind of really worked out. And one thing we'll talk about as well, we made some major shifts in our trip. We're is it going to be more expensive than it was before? Yes. Is it going to be that much more? No, because you got to remember our last trip, we're getting, an Airbnb the whole time. This time we're going to stay at Chris's place in Portland for some of it. We had to get a car. We're not going to have Chris's car. So we're going to find different ways to make it more affordable. So, we should do it for our listeners' sake. We're probably going to come in right around the usual $800-900 of our trip, despite going to Bandon Dunes in peak season. So Not everyone can do that. But the point is, even though we're spending quite a bit at Bandon, it's not like we're going away from our ethos and be we're dropping $2,000 to pop on this golf trip. That's not happening.
No, we still tried to keep it, in a relative budget. I would say it's a little bit more expanded than normal when we do try to go on our golf trips, but we cut some golf out, but we're still getting some insane golf courses. We're getting all 3 of those courses at Bandon. Then the next day after we play at Bandon, we're playing Coos Bay with Andre, the owner. So excited for that. Then we're heading up the coast to play a amazing looking Reese Jones track called Florentine Links. This place looks freaking epic. Anybody from the Bay Area, if you've played Carica, it literally looks like a link style Carica Park, very much on the ocean. And I wouldn't say you get ocean views. It's definitely more of how Sharp Park is to the ocean, where you're adjacent to it. You're there. You can feel it. You can feel the winds. You can feel the mist, but it's not necessarily the views you're looking for. But the course looks absolutely stunning, and I'm so excited to play.
And I love Reese Jones. I love Reese Jones.
He's been pumping out some amazing tracks lately, and so I'm excited for that. Then we head to Portland. The next day, we're gonna sleep in. We're gonna wake up. We are gonna play the Muni of all Munis. If anybody's watched NLU's Oregon trip that they did, you have to go on Tour Sauce. You have to go check out the Portland episode, because they go and play Eastmoreland. which is it's got to be top 10 favorite munis, like actual munis that I've ever played. It is the back nine at Eastmoreland is absolutely incredible. And then the next day, we're going to play one of my favorite courses out there, Langdon Farms, and then get Ashton on the plane. So it's going to be an absolutely amazing trip. We cut costs by, staying at my place in Portland. So if somebody did plan to do kind of the trip that we're planning, you probably would need to add an extra, $200 or $300 onto there for some hotels in Portland. But it's still absolutely doable, right around the, little over 1,000 mark, which with the type of golf that we're playing and the experiences we're going to have, absolutely worth every freaking penny. I mean, most people pay that just for a weekend trip to Pinehurst.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other good point too is if you include the preserve, which you should, we're getting 7 rounds of golf. I mean, that's a lot. That's actually more golf than we've ever played in one of our golf trips before. And then you include shorties, which you can count or not count, but that means 8. You get the punch bowl, then you get practice. So like, I don't know, 7, 8 rounds of golf plus like Bandon practice facility. Like, again, I think that what we've said a lot of as we've calibrated on these is really trying to make sure that we're not kind of killing ourselves. So I think that like, I love what we're doing. We're early on.
More spread out.
Yeah, like travel, really concentrated on golf. And then, I mean, I'm already so excited to have that day where we sleep in and wake up and have coffee and don't have a 2:00 tea time, because usually our MO is like, at 4:45, you tend to be half dressed in my room saying that you ate gummies or saying that you ate some kind of fucking Choco Taco or something. Or just so fucking excited. So it's going to be nice to be able to, there's certainly going to be some days where it's like, yo, let's wake up and go. But even like Bandon that morning, I mean, we're probably not going to, your ass needs to sleep.
Well, luckily we're getting to Bandon around 2:00 the day that we check in. We don't play the preserve until 4:10. So we've got a few hours to relax and everything. And the preserve is a short course, only 13 holes. So we're going to be able to get a really nice dinner, a bottle of wine between the two of us, and really enjoy ourselves and get a good night's sleep, and then wake up in the morning and the great thing is we're on property. So there's no driving to a golf course. We wake up and there's a shuttle. We don't even have to get in a car. We literally get in a shuttle, like Marcus was talking about, and they shuttle us over to Bandon Dunes because we're staying at the trails. And we just, warm up, hit some balls, and then get out there and play. And it's going to be absolutely epic. And our back-to-back 36, usually we have an hour to an hour and a half drive in between our locations when we go on a lot of our trips. We only have a 30-minute drive between Bandon Dunes and Coos Bay, where we're staying the night after our 36 at Bandon. So we finish our round. We grab, some dinner at Bandon as our last little hurrah before we, set sail from the resort. We head to Coos Bay, we check in, we go to sleep, wake up, and we play our 36. And like you said, we're smart enough at this point where after our second 36, we have all the way up to 2 p.m. the next day to be able to sleep in, relax, energize, get some food in us, and really make it worth it, instead of killing ourselves by doing 36 like we've done in the past. So learning experiences have helped, and I think this trip is going to be.
We only have one. I think the only thing that we have that's not questionable, but the only thing we're going to have to fight through is waking up in Coos Bay, playing Coos Bay, playing Florentine Links, and getting to Portland.
The drive to Portland after Florentine Links is going to be a stretch, because we still are going to have about little over 3 hours drive to Portland.
But again, we're just we can do 90 minutes each, get a big cup of coffee, and then vibes. I mean, vibes will be so high.
Oh,
and just 3 hours is a lot different than, I was going to throw out an arbitrary number, but that's not that bad. We can divvy it up.
Also, prior to us leaving on our trip, just to sprinkle a little bit on top, just to add a little bit of salt and pepper on top of this, We are on the 29th.
29th, yeah.
29th, we're playing Pasa Tiempo.
Because we couldn't play with the other RGC guys on the 28th because like just schedules. So like we're bummed we can't play with them, but are super excited to still get out there.
All of my stuff is getting picked up on the 28th. So I'm moving to Portland. So on the 28th is the only, because it's a holiday weekend, it's a disaster to try to book anything. Yeah. So we actually had to book to pick up our stuff on the 28th so that I won't even have anything. I'll literally have my golf bag, one suitcase full of clothes, and that's it.
Just the two of us.
That's all I need. And so we're gonna play Pasa. You the next day you got invited up to play Bayonet,
yeah. Which Presidio on Monday.
And then we played Presidio on Monday as my farewell to the Bay Area. My last round with producer Jack. So and where I'm hoping and praying, since it's a holiday, that our boy Marcus will be able to join us too. So anybody that remembers him from the Bandon podcast, I'd be stoked to be able to finish my round with producer Jack, or finish my time in the Bay Area with producer Jack and Marcus. That would be just the icing on the cake to be able to leave the Bay Area.
Look at Marcus. You can look at this two different ways. One, Marcus getting the invite publicly before he gets it privately. That's cool.
Oh, I privately brought it up to him.
Okay. Well, the other thing I was going to say is a lot of pressure, letting people know, like we might have thousands and thousands of listeners reaching out to Marcus being like, you got to do this for Big C, man. What are you doing? Don't prioritize your kids. Don't prioritize your family. Don't prioritize your students. Go play golf with Big C. You can just hear the fans, Marcus.
I can hear it. We're going to get DMs all over Instagram. You guys are going to go to Marcus's Instagram and you guys are just going to flood it. So
at 4MBC, FOREMBC. Marcus is not going to like that. I just put that out.
Marcus is not going to like that. Find him. Anyways, so that's our trip. We're so fucking stoked for this trip. I mean, it was nuts. So we were basically planning on just doing an I-5 golf trip, hitting up some great courses in Medford, hitting some great courses in Salem, the OSU course, Tristan Trees. Then this came and it just blew up the plan and we couldn't say no. So I couldn't be more happier for this trip. I'm so fucking stoked. I can't even imagine. But speaking of Presidio, my boy Ashton played Presidio over the weekend. How was Presidio? How was the conditions out there?
I did. So I actually played Thursday as well. So what I've started to do is, this is going to sound like the most obvious thing in the world, but it's 10 minutes from my house. So what I've decided to do is on Thursdays to get out on the super twilight time. So right now, as of last week, Twilight is at 4, Super Twilight is at 6, and you're only going to finish 9 holes. But, especially with how expensive Presidio has gotten, I know some people would not be cool with this, but it's $35 for Super Twilight. And right now you're only getting, I think we got in 10 holes, but every weekdays are getting longer. So there will be a point where we can play 10, 11, and then come 17, 18. So the point is I'm totally fine to pay $35 for 9 holes because Presidio is always in great shape.
I was about to say, most people pay $35 or $25 to go play their local 9-hole, and it's not even comparable to Presidio. So yeah, little bit of a spoiled man over there being able to just walk on a Presidio for $35.
Yeah, I guess what Nick, our guest last week, he played his first round of golf in San Diego. We were talking about it earlier. He played at Balboa Park, and he said that Balboa Park greens are absolutely pure, really cool golf course, and it's $44 as a non-resident to play 18 holes. So I guess that's just in my head, I think Presidio is probably a better golf course because he said, he was telling me it's got some warts, but in an affectionate Muni way. He also said, just giving us some scouting on the ground, he said he teed off because he's currently unemployed. He teed off on Thursday at 11 a.m. Course was slammed, not one tee time. So San Diego too, Thursday at 11 a.m., not one tee time, course is slammed.
That's nuts.
He said pace of play was not bad, but it's kind of what you expect when you have a slammed municipal golf course, right? They're trying their best. Yeah, so Presidio was great on Thursday. I was with Paul. We just got like it was really fun. It was just like super windy and cold. Like I wore like legitimate like sweatpants and a hoodie and like got really cold.
Yeah, the whole week out here has been super windy and cold. It's very weird for May, end of April, May.
Yeah, it's been really cold. And so it was really good to get out there because sometimes I feel like in the Bay, like when you play golf in the cold like that, I came in with just like a really kind of clear head. Also got to play with someone who's newer to the group, Vikrant from RGC. It's always kind of nice to, I had seen his Instagram handle, didn't know, him at all. He actually drove up from Campbell. So mad shout out to him for making the trek up from Campbell.
Trek. That's my old stomping grounds.
Yeah, he's actually going to come up again. He really, really enjoyed it. So he's going to be playing with us again on Thursday. Get to meet a couple of new folks as well. So I'm pretty stoked about this kind of Thursday contingent of people. But again, for $35, like super. And Presidio at that time, like the restaurant is closed. There's nobody in the pro shop. Like it's just a very chill vibe out there because it's so late in the day. So really like that. But then Saturday was really different because I made this tee time a while ago because Liz and I had like a full weekend of plans. And the only way I could play was if I played early. So Saturday was their member. And so what was really interesting was originally they told me that we couldn't take carts. Again, I didn't want a cart. But we couldn't take carts because all of the carts were being used for the member. So we teed off at 6:40. I think we were the third group off. It was a beautiful morning. Conditions like a little bit, actually still chilly, but not as chilly. Very still, which for the Presidio right now, that was kind of really unique. And I got to give them credit. The greens right now are fantastic. Like they're breaking a lot. There's no such thing as a flat putt. They're quick. Even they were kind of wet in the morning. I mean, pretty quick, really making you think. Like one of the guys in our group who we didn't know, he was like an older gentleman. And he's like, man, I prefer Harding. He's like, I kind of like him. He literally was like, I like being able to just aim it at the hole and kind of hit it hard. And I was like, yeah, that's an interesting thing. I've never heard someone say that out loud, but yeah, like, there were some putts that were
that was our take with Harding when we reviewed all the courses in the city. Like we literally said like they're boring, flat, plain old greens. There's nothing special about Harding greens.
And he prefers Harding because, again, being a bit older, he doesn't like to walk up the hills and he likes being able to have slower greens he can hit at the hole. And I was like, that is incredible that you just like said that out loud. So yeah, but the only thing that I can say a couple quick stories. One, I won't name names because he's probably not a listener, probably never will, but I don't want to, light the guy on fire. And if he gets this joke, then he can find me and we can talk about it. I played with Asian Billy Horschel. And if you listen to Shotgun Start, you know what that means. So
Billy Hall,
he was the way the older gentleman put it. We came on the seventh hole. We were talking about him, and because he was being very diplomatic, he goes, "See, guy's name." He said, "Normally people are slow before they get to the ball, or they're slow at the ball. Unfortunately, this guy is slow on both ends." So he would take anywhere between 2 to 5 practice swings, swinging away from the ball. Took forever. But then he did the Billy Horschel thing where he kind of like has one foot in front of the other behind the golf ball. Then he would do it at the golf ball. Then he would stand over the golf ball for a really long time. And I was playing with Fabian as well. And like I didn't want to say anything because like in the same Billy Ho ideas, I thought the guy might have a bit of a temper. Also, I just like the guys in front of us, another story, were playing pretty slow. So like it wasn't actually slowing us down, but it was just really like, I was about to say entertaining. It was just interesting to watch someone
it's hard to stay in your rhythm, in your game, when you play with somebody that takes such a deliberate way to hit a golf shot. And it's like, I don't care if you're a scratch golfer or if you're a horrible golfer and you shank it after you took 10 minutes to hit a ball. It's just, it absolutely infuriates you, and it just makes you so you basically become lethargic and you're out of your game. You're not in it completely.
And Chris, he was doing the whole like line up the ball from like 3 feet, putting from like 8, all that stuff. And the other thing that I thought was also funny is he was giving a lot of anecdotes of like, excuses like, I haven't played golf in 3 weeks. Like, I never do that. So that was one part. One thing I got to give Presidio a bunch of credit for. This is the whole reason I want to talk about Presidio. Again, we were the third group off. As we've talked about on this podcast, as we've mentioned about Rustic, if you're going to be the third group off, you set the pace for the entire day. You cannot play slow. The guys in front of us, there was 4 of them. 2 guys were carrying their golf bags, playing from the back tees. And I saw pretty quickly, let's just put it this way. They're not, all I'll say, they're not guys who should be playing from the black tees. Not that Presidio's long, but it's hard enough that you need to be like a 3, 4, 5 handicap to play from the black tees. You just do. There were other 2 guys in the group were in individual carts and were horrible golfers, but okay, they're in carts. On the second hole, one of the guys, and the second hole for those who've never played there, the Presidio, it's like a downhill par 5, and then there's a huge uphill, and then there's the green up there. This kid parks his cart at the bottom of the hill, walks up the hill, sees his ball, walks back down the hill, gets his club, walks back up the hill, hits his shot, walks back down the hill, gets in his cart, and drives up. That's kind of the vibe of what we had. It was very slow. We get to number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 6, we're on the green. They're teeing off 7. The group ahead of them is finishing up 8. So they're like 2 solid holes behind, and they're the third group on the course. And it got to the point where I was like per thing, I should call it a pro shop. I don't know what to do. I hear a gas-powered golf cart coming. And like, it's just the way they say it at the Presidio says player's assistant. And like, I just basically, I got to give them credit. They just go and like get in their ass. Like, they're just like yelling at these guys. Like, I don't know what they said, but Amon was like, what the fuck are you, like, you saw the marshals like gesticulating, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, how the hell are you 2 holes behind? There's nobody on the course. Like, you literally can't, there's no excuse for this. They also picked a really bad time for the marshal to come because the 2 kids have never played golf, like topped their tee shots on the par 3 and then were like taking huge chunks of earth out, like trying to get it down there.
Oh no.
It was just a tough scene. But what was great, so then we get to 9 and there's the marshal sitting there and the older gentleman we're with, who's, not a good golfer, but plays quick. He kind of looks at the marshal and goes, how far behind are they? And the marshal goes, 3/4 of a hole, and I've told them they need to step it up. So I got to give, granted, it was a day for Presidio to shine, right? It's their member. They need to have a good experience. But I do appreciate the fact that like the second the marshal said something and then was washing them like a hawk. So, but Presidio is a gem. Again, I wish it was a little bit cheaper. We've already said our stuff about Presidio, but at the end of the day, you walk off Presidio and you're glad you played. It's such a beautiful place, and I love playing there. So be on the lookout for Asian Billy Ho if you see him. If you see a guy who's he's left-handed, so if it's a left-handed guy who's doing all this gesticulating, and also if he hits a 3-wood like 30-yard worm burners and goes, I never do that. It's like, well, my guy, you did it 3 times on this hole. So, and hey, there's no shame. I can't hit a 3-wood either. If anyone wants to buy my left-handed 3-wood, hit me up. No free ads. But it was a great day. Really fun to play with Fabian. Big shout out to Fabian. He made 3 birdies. He didn't play great because his old irons he's getting his ferrules done. So he was playing his old irons kind of whippy shafts. He was hitting some balls off the planet because he was playing with the wrong clubs. But 3 birdies is never anything to scoff at. So big shout out to Fabian. No,
that's a good day.
Yeah, but you, my man, 36 holes celebrating the birth of our good friend, Mr. Kanan. But tell me about your 36-hole day. I got to say, 2 courses that I have never heard anything about, so I'm excited to hear about. But Greenhorn and Copperopolis.
It's Copper Valley in Copperopolis.
Okay, because Copperopolis sounds like
It sounds like it's in a Lego movie.
Do you remember there was a commercial? This is going to be great for a podcast, but there was a commercial when we were kids. It was like adults who couldn't pee. It was like they were made of like pipes and stuff. I really liked this commercial. And it was like this like guy who was made of pipes, but he's always going to the bathroom. and there was like a city that was like,
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it was made of pipes. That's what I think of when I hear Copperopolis.
That's what my wife said too.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm great. So yeah, I'm curious after we'll do this live on the podcast, but if you type in like pipe guy who has to go to the bathroom, I really want to find that ad. Because when I was like 12 years old, I remember being like, I kind of ignored the fact that you got old and you can't pee. That's coming for all of us, I guess, at some point. But I was like, that's a really like, it felt like a futuristic like Disney ride or something. So, but tell me about your golf round, not old men who can't pee, that they're trying to make a marketing ad about a guy who can't pee.
Yeah, so I went out, played Copper Valley and Greenhorn. So both of these courses are out in the Calaveras foothills, which is in between. It's like in between Angels Camp and Stockton. So if anybody is familiar with, where that is in California, but they're both considered resort courses. They both have lodging that you can stay at, both of them. I wouldn't say that they're what I would consider some of the resorts that I've stayed at with Silverado and some of the nicer ones around the Bay Area, but the courses are absolutely incredible. They're really, really good. I would say I lean a little bit more towards Greenhorn, and I think that's more because I really love a great green complex, and the first hole at Greenhorn is one of the sickest green complexes I've played in a long time. So the first hole at Greenhorn is a really, really sick, par 4. The cool thing with the green there is it's kind of like a kidney shape, but it falls off throughout the entire surrounding of the green except for the entrance approach shot. So you've got a flat approach right up onto the green, but if you miss the green anywhere left, right, or back, it's almost like a 4 to 5 foot drop with slopes coming off all the way around the green. It's really, really cool and intriguing. One of my favorite starting holes that I've played in a long time. And I haven't played Greenhorn since it's been over 10 years. So there's a lot of things that I didn't remember about it. And that was a very pleasant surprise. And one of my favorite holes at Greenhorn has got to be the 4th hole. So there used to be some farmland mixed into Greenhorn, and when they built the golf course, they kept some of the architecture that was left over from some of these farms and ranches. And on the 4th hole, it separates the fairway. It's a par 5, and it separates the fairway at about 240, 250. So it doesn't really allow, you can, if you want to cut the corner right and hit it over this little, barrier. So it's cool. It's a rock wall that's been there since the early 1920s. It was part of a sheep ranch that used to be in this area, and they just left the wall there, and it's absolutely, awesome. It's one of my favorite, little features that I've ran into on a golf course. And so you've got 2 ways of kind of playing this hole. You can either hit it right at the wall, land it about 220, give yourself about 10 to 20 yards in between the wall to hit another, 200-yard shot downhill onto this green that's kind of guarded by three bunkers. Or if you got a 260 to 290 drive, you can cut over the trees right and then land on the downslope, and you could probably get it to within 110, 120 yards for a chip in. Not an easy shot, very narrow fairway if you do take that route, but I mean, it just gives you options. That's what I really love about Greenhorn is there's just incredible options throughout the entire course. You can literally never hit your driver on this course and probably still score very, very well and hit your targets and play target golf throughout the entire day. Or There's a lot of holes that allow you to, grip it and rip it and take out your driver and, take risks over corners. And it's a really awesome design. Copper Valley, this is the first time I ever played there. Copper Valley was a really, really cool course. Hole 6 had to have been one of my favorites. Hole 6 was a punch bowl that kind of led you right. It was a par 4, 369 yard with a punch bowl green. It was just really, really. It wasn't the punch bowl that. It wasn't a Gil Hance punch bowl or the typical architectural punch bowls that we were all accustomed to. The green itself wasn't necessarily a punch bowl, but it had the surroundings around it. It was almost like a stadium green. So you could hit it, left, right, past the hole, and you could hit it off these hills. It'll all funnel back onto the green. So it was a really cool, a little bit of architectural tweak on a lot of the holes. And you had a lot of backstops, a lot of, slopes on the greens at Copper Valley that kind of fed into them. So it really allowed you to be creative there on your approach shots. Whereas Greenhorn kind of gave you a little bit more creativity throughout the tee shots. And I really appreciated both of them on different spectrums. I would still say I lean towards Greenhorn a little bit just because of the architecture and the way it's laid out. I would say I really, really enjoyed the hospitality of everybody at Copper Valley and the people running it, everybody that was in the clubhouse and in turn, they were class act, absolutely amazing. You go out there, they give you, warm-up balls when you play around out there, included into your round. Just very, very, spectacular course. And the course was immaculate. Fairways were extremely pure, hard, ran fast. The greens were punched about a little over a month ago. Some of the greens are taking a while to cure. So you still had some bumps and lumps throughout the green. So I didn't really get to experience the pure, Copper Valley greens that I was told about from many other people. But it was still an absolutely great day. And being out there with Kanan for his birthday and, having a good time with his buddy Sammy that came out with us as well, he's just a class act. I mean, I love playing with Sammy. We've had him out at the Hagen Oaks 36 that we did, and he's just a really, really good guy. So being able to play those 2 rounds. And then we had the most interesting man play with us on our second 36 at Greenhorn. So I've never played with a guy that narrated every single aspect of his round. So every time he hit a shot, he would basically narrate what his next approach was. So he'd hit a drive, far left. We'd pull up to his ball, and then he'd narrate what he was about to do. He'd go, all right, I'm going to take a 7-iron, and I gotta swoop it out of this brush, and I gotta hit a little fade around this corner. He'd literally stand there and narrate it. And then with every shot that he meant well. He was a really friendly, nice guy. But every shot that me, Sammy, and Kanan hit, he'd roll up to us and go, "Oh, let me tell you how to hit this shot." And he'd give us an explanation on the best spots to hit it. And, some of them were really great. You could obviously tell this guy's played this course hundreds of times. But some of it was unwarranted and we didn't really want it all the time. And it got a little old after after it was, 10, 11 holes, and it's been every single hole, almost every shot he's been trying to tell us how to hit them. So that got a little nuts, but it was still a great, great day. And I absolutely am glad I got to get out to Greenhorn and Copper Valley before, I head to Portland. I can't say very much. I would say the only thing I was a little bummed about was for what we paid to play Copper Valley, I don't necessarily know if the golf course architecture or what you get out there is worth it. We played on a Saturday and it was $124 with a cart to play. Not cheap.
What?
At all. Yeah, $124 to play on a Saturday.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I knew that ahead of time. And I've heard great things about Copper Valley, so that's why I didn't really question it. But
Chris, where is Copper Valley? Because I think sometimes for Bay Area listeners like me, like I have no idea. Is that north? Is that south?
It's east. So if you're in the Bay Area, you basically would head towards Stockton, get on Highway 4, which leads you up into the mountains towards Bear Valley, where, up into the, Calaveras foothills. And you would basically run right off of 4, you run right into the city of Copperopolis. So the city of Copperopolis is where the golf club of Copper Valley is. And so Copper Valley is at this moment a Troon property, but they are dropping Troon in the next week, so they no longer will be Troon. I've actually seen that with a lot of Troon properties in California lately. Hidden Brook also is trying to drop Troon as well, and I know Copper Valley just dropped Troon, so I don't know if that has something to say about, Troon properties or what they're doing to golf courses, but yeah, they're leaving Copper Valley, so they're going to be, solely running their own operation and everything, and not with a large conglomerate. But for $124 and a little bit of a drive out there, and it seemed like all the bros and kind of douchier guys from Sacramento and Stockton and everything use it as their like weekend resort place to play, because the whole round, all we hear is woos and drunk dudes on every other hole making a putt for a bogey and winning a skin off of a buddy and just throwing their club. That was the one vibe I did not really dig, and it seemed like it was rampant through the entire round when we were at Copper Valley, where we didn't see it as much at Greenhorn. Greenhorn is a little bit more of an older crowd. I would say the majority of the people out there, 55 and older, most of them own second homes on the property, and it's kind of their vacation, from the Bay Area and from Sacramento. So it's a little bit more of a low-key vibe, and I really dig the property at Greenhorn because they have a wine bar at the turn. They've got a full bar that you can go to upstairs. They've got a magnificent restaurant. If anybody has been to Angels Camp or anything, Mark Twain is a big, proponent out there. So they have a big statue of Mark Twain, and it's really, really cool atmosphere out at Greenhorn, where, to be honest, I could take it or leave it at Copper Valley. We went out there and had dinner afterwards because Kanan unfortunately left his phone at Copper Valley after our round. So we went and played Greenhorn, and we were going to grab some dinner. So we decided to grab dinner at Copper Valley since we had to go back and pick up his phone. And to be honest, dinner was outrageously overpriced. All three of us ordered T-bone steaks, and I think that with a vegetable medley and some mashed potatoes was like $40 a person. And
that place, you had a bunch of broy guys screaming and an overpriced steak, and you spent $200.
Yes. So I was not stoked.
Woof.
And you know what? It was Kanan's birthday. I was all for it. It was for a good reason. And you know what? I had a great time with Kanan and Sam. But I would say all three of us, for sure, would say the exact same thing about the experience.
There's no, and the other thing that I think is a really big thing that you mentioned is it's not close. I mean, like,
No.
I'll tell you, like, having done Dark Horse, it's not close. It's 100% worth it. I think, to your point, they must have kind of their demographic dialed in, and that's fine. But look, and if you fall into that demographic, one of our listeners, by all means. But I think for us, like, I mean, that does not sound like a place that I'd be eager to go to because it's too far, it's too expensive, and it's not my vibe.
It wouldn't be my recommendation.
You and I are I'm more of a burger than a hot dog guy, but it's like, give me a $6 burger at the turn. I don't want a $40 steak.
And it wasn't an option. Like, so we didn't plan on going there to have an expensive dinner. We were like, you know what? We'll pop in, we'll grab something to eat because unfortunately, and I don't know why, Greenhorn did not have their restaurant open. So we finished our round at Copper Valley, decided to drive over to Greenhorn early to be able to grab something to eat. They didn't even have the restaurant open. So all three of us haven't eaten all day. All they have are this little thing with hot dogs in it. So we all buy hot dogs, chips, and something to drink and sit outside and eat that. So by the time we finished at Greenhorn, we were starving. And to be honest, I had a hot dog at both places. No bueno. Neither place had a good hot dog. They were both in 7-Eleven style hot dog warmers. That right there, you're already fucked up. And they weren't great. I'd give both of them a 4 out of 10. I mean, plain, boring, warmer hot dogs, and they were not. I mean, for $124 round, you could definitely step up your hot dog game. That was sad. But going into the restaurant after the round, we were so starving. We sit down, we look around, and we're kind of like, everybody is dressed up for dinner. There's candlelight on every table. We were like,
no.
We then look at each other and we're like, oh no. I think this is going to be more than we thought because we were in the same boat. We wanted to grab a hamburger, maybe like a turkey melt, something that is golf course-esque or golf course.
It's going to cost you like $12, $20.
Yeah. Give me $15 to $20 worth of food, a good Coke, and I'm good to go. And it was not that. It was a select menu, very, very upscale, only had very slim options, and we all looked at each other and were like, well, screw it. I guess we're just all ordering steaks, and it wasn't for $40. I've had a lot of $40 steak dinners, and that wasn't even close to as good as what I've had elsewhere. I mean, so to sum it up,
maybe Copper Valley. Maybe my analogy of the robot man who can't pee. That's kind of what it must be like to play there,
Kinda. I mean, shit. It didn't live up to what a lot of people told me Copper Valley was. And like I said, the course was in mint condition. If you go play there a couple weeks from now, the greens should be fully cured up, and it's going to be a really fun round. But for the price and what you get, and if you're coming from where we come from, it's just not worth it, in my opinion. I would rather go up there and play Greenhorn. We played Greenhorn in the afternoon for $50 with the cart. It was like $64 with a hot dog and chips and a drink. I mean, great deal. So if you are heading up there, Greenhorn is worth it. I would absolutely recommend there. But again, both of these courses are way out of the way. For me and our buddy Kanan, it was an hour and a half. He was coming from Sacramento. I was coming from Antioch. So it kind of made sense. It was, I wouldn't say halfway for both of us because we both were going out of our way to go there. But, it wasn't too far of a drive. It was still a great day, but it fell a little short for me. It wasn't quite there. I was looking for a little bit more when it came to Copper Valley. And
sounds very fair. And then if I had joined, I couldn't have. But like, what, 2 hours, 2.5 hours? Like, it would have been a million years for me.
It would have took you forever to get there. And our buddy Hussey, asked me how the weekend rounds were, and I gave him the same take, and then he asked me the question, well, Dark Horse, Greenhorn, or Copper Valley? I'd take Dark Horse every fucking day of the week. It doesn't have the amenities either of them have, but to be honest, that's not what we look for in golf. What we look for in golf is, like we say all the time, good rates, good greens, good vibes. And to be honest, you get
pace of play, which Dark Horse did not have, but I'm willing to give Dark Horse another bite because the other stuff is so good. It's so good.
To be honest, I really think it was the group that we had playing in front of us. They were kind of a disaster at Dark Horse, and I'm going to blame it more on them than the golf course. But like we always say, a marshal will solve all those problems, and Dark Horse could easily send one of those guys out to check up on people and make sure things are going down correctly. But
again, 7th hole at Presidio, I'm pretty sure that marshal said, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
And that's what we need. And like you said, when you're a local at Presidio, you're paying a very affordable rate, but they still have somebody out there making sure it's going down, making sure things are keeping pace. So those are things that we ask for. We didn't deal with pace issues at either golf course, so I will say that. We kept up at both courses, 4.5 hour rounds at both courses. Great pace of play. Both courses, great conditions. But for the money and distance that you have to travel to get there, kind of a skip for me. Especially when you pass Spanos, which is in Stockton, and Spanos for $60 to $75 is absolutely incredible. I mean, it's immaculate, and you get great vibes out there. So, and the pace of play is great. They got 2 marshals that roam that place at all times, keeping things going. So,
I will never understand why every place doesn't have a marshal, but that's a whole separate discussion.
It's not hard to find a retiree to just give free golf and have him make sure that the pace of play is going. It's really not a lot to ask. But
yeah. Are you playing any golf this week or weekend? What's on your agenda?
So this coming weekend, our buddy Aaron Munda is a Troon member, so he's going to get us on out at Yocha. So playing that on Friday. Don't really have any plans other than that, but I'm sure a round or two will pop up for Saturday or Sunday. What about yourself?
I am not. I have Liz and I both have Friday off. So we were going down to Monterey for a nice romantic weekend. What I might do though, because you actually helped me. I got them to play it against sports, but you helped me kind of get her set up with a handful of clubs. What I might do, because I want to check it out, is I think I might run over with her to the Hay, their putting course they just put out, because that's free. I know a lot of RGC guys. Shout out to Patrick and his hole-in-one played there. It's not that I don't want to. It's just that I just think just going and putting and checking it out is probably all I want to do this time. But no rounds. But kind of as we mentioned to start off, I did the math. The week that you're staying with me, starting on the 29th, I have 10 rounds in 8 days, and I'm playing on Thursdays with 9 holes. So I'm kind of just trying to keep the car warm until our trip, because man, 10 rounds in 8 days, that's coming real soon.
It's going to be a lot. My fat ass needs to get out and start walking, because Bandon, people know, do not have carts. So for my fat ass that chooses to ride in carts every time we play 36 holes, I definitely need to get my endurance up just a bit to be able to get out there and endure that 36. So
yeah, you got to be prepared. I went back and looked at my Whoop app. I think not this Friday, Sunday, but the weekend before when I played with Marcus and crew, I walked 18 holes to Presidio, which is a hilly course, and it was 2,200 burn calories. So
yeah,
you better get ready.
I gotta prep. It is gonna definitely be a rocky moment for me. You know, Rocky Balboa. I gotta run the stairs. I gotta get that conditioning up to.
But it's okay. You've got like Big Randy showed us. You got the Bandon energy balls. You'll have some, you'll have some good food. You'll have some cocktails. Also, for one of the rounds, you'll have someone else carrying your golf bag.
True.
You'll be bueno.
I think we'll be all right. All right, my man.
And if you're not, then I'll just take all your money, and that's cool.
Fuck that. That's not happening. I need to pay back some of this money we're spending on this trip, so I definitely need to be up to snuff on that.
I know we mentioned this earlier, but my one take that I think I just wanted to get out publicly that we should do is I believe that our 36-hole day at Bandon, we should play straight up match play. We should not keep score. Like intentionally, like I don't want to know what I shot. We should play straight up match play and just have to be a 36-hole match play day. Because as I was talking to Nick earlier, he's like, David McClay kid built Bandon as like effectively like a match play course. I was like, it's a good point. We shouldn't go post a number at Bandon. Like that's not what it's about at all.
No, I'm down with that. Match play.
And Sheep Ranch in the afternoon, we're both going to make some 12s because it is going to be blowing us off the effing planet.
Yeah. So I'm down for 36 match play. And we are definitely playing KPs and match play at the preserve as well.
Hell yeah.
All right, my man. It's about to go down. It's going to be a epic trip. I can't wait for that. But your boy is tired. So we're going to end it tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is Chris and Ashton.
Peace.
Take it easy, fellas and ladies.
There you go.